All right, before we get out of here, bonus segment, because we have college football on Sunday night and Monday night, we're going to talk a little Monday night football a few days before the NFL season kicks off. And we are going to talk some Boston College, Florida State. Florida State will host Boston College. This line crashed by nearly a touchdown after Florida State's disappointing performance against Georgia Tech. Florida State has since taken some money. Get your quick thoughts, 30-second thoughts on this game for anyone looking to bet it on Monday night. I think this, coming down below 17, I wanted 14, never personally saw it. I think it's a little bit too much of an overreaction to what we saw from Florida State, but the situation is brutal, right? Coming back from Ireland, you put what you're trying to do and some of the things you're trying to do on film. Boston College, meanwhile, no travel, no film, going to have a new offense, more uncertainty there, could watch what Florida State wants to do. And to wit, if you look historically, these teams that play in week 1 against teams that played in week 0, they've been great against the spread. FBS teams, 64% against the spread. And in conference games where you're probably going to show more, unleash more wrinkles, 14-3 against the spread for the team that didn't play in week 0 against the team that did in conference games. So the situation probably keeps me on the sidelines, but would lean that this line has come down a bit too far. Colin, what are you seeing?
I absolutely agree. I put this in the Action Network app. There's a trio of books out there still at 16.5. I don't think that's where the number closes. You have to look at what Boston College does versus what Georgia Tech does. This is a completely different offense that FSU is gonna face. Bill O'Brien's the head coach. We're going to see a lot of 12, two tight sets. And then Thomas Castellanos, good quarterback, but this is not Haynes King. Then you look at the running backs. Trayshawn Ward was fantastic at Florida State. And at Kansas State last year, he fell to 2.8 yards after contact. That he is regressing in how explosive and elusive he is. And then when you look at the outside at wide receiver, they have Vandy, Texas Tech transfers. This is not the Georgia Tech offense that just took apart that Florida State team in Ireland. So I expect Florida State to respond here at home. Minus 16.5. I don't think will be on the board by the time kick comes Monday.
Yeah, we'll see if that hyped up Florida State defensive line that had a dud of a performance last week actually steps up, because if they can make Castellanos a thrower, then it could lead to a lot of trouble for the Eagles. Brett, anything here?
Hey, Stuck, I forgot to mention this off top of the show. I want to congratulate you and Colin for your new contracts. I didn't realize the fine print included sucking up to Johnny Manziel on all his Hail Mary picks like Vanderbilt. But anyway, I regress. I like Florida State here. The number's out of whack. It's fallen too much. Stuck, you talked about no travel, no film. How about no talent? Florida State outclasses Boston College. This is a huge game. They can't go 0-2 in conference play. If Florida State beats, what if Georgia Tech loses that game in overtime? Is the line really down to 16.5? I don't think so. I'll take the Seminoles in a big bounce back roll.
Suck it up. I don't need to suck that up with anyone here. I started the show with Vanderbilt. Calabrese, what do you got here?
Spin it however you want, buddy.
I think it's a little weird that everybody's clowning Boston College, who almost beat Florida State last year when Florida State was so much better than this version of FSU. And Castellanos had 400 total yards in that game. I understand it was in Chestnut Hill, and I believe it was a look-ahead game for Florida State. They had Clemson on deck, so there was different elements. But everything you laid out, Stuck, in terms of the situational play favoring BC and an NFL coaching staff and Bill O'Brien, who's been around the block, I think there's a chance that he can muck this game up a little bit. So I'm going to look to target a live under in this spot. I want to see what his tempo looks like, because he did, depending on his weapons, speed things up at 1 year at Alabama with 78 plays per game in his first season as the OC. But then the next year it came way down. He changed a little bit of his mindset and his overall strategy. So I think based on the weaponry that BC has, or lack thereof, I should say, they're probably going to play a little bit slower. And I feel more confident in a bounce back performance from the Florida State defense as opposed to DJU. DJU is fully cooked. He's played, so many games in college. I've seen what he can do when the defenses know that he has to pass the ball. He cannot put it downfield. But the Florida State defense, I think, is going to get off the mat and play a much better game here. So I'm going to look for a live under, as long as BC isn't doing something weird from a tempo perspective.